The deep space probe had been floating alone in the darkness for 3 years, watching the Kepler Nebula with eyes that never blinked. Its sensors moved through the cosmic dust like a careful hunter, recording everything they found. The machine did not get tired. It did not need sleep. It only needed power, and the solar panels on its metal body gave it that power without end. Then, on a normal Tuesday morning on Earth, the probe found something that should not exist. Dr. Han Sol sat at her desk in the Earth Space Command building, drinking cold coffee that she had made 6 hours ago. She was not looking at the probe data yet. She was looking at her email, and her email was very angry. 3 different managers wanted to know why the probe's report had not been finished. 2 scientists wanted to argue about something that happened in a meeting she did not remember. One person wanted to know if she had stolen their lunch from the office refrigerator. She had not stolen anyone's lunch. Her computer made a sound, not the normal sound, a different sound, an alarm sound. Hansol put down her coffee cup. She opened the file. The words on the screen did not make sense at first. She read them again and again. The 3rd time, she felt something cold move down her back. The probe had found an energy signature, not a small one, a big one, very big. The kind of energy that should not be floating in empty space at the edge of the known universe. The kind of energy that meant something large was hidden in the nebula, something that was still working, something that was still alive. She called her friend, Dr. Teo. He worked in the same building, only 3 floors up. When he arrived, he was not happy. He never liked being pulled away from his work. "It's probably nothing," Teo said, looking at the screen. "A star, a black hole, something natural." Hansol shook her head. "Look at the pattern," she said. She pointed to the numbers on the screen. "This is not natural. This is made. This is built. This is... I do not know what this is." Teo leaned closer. His eyes got bigger. "How old is the source?" he asked. Hansol clicked some buttons. "The mineral composition around it. This is very old, Teo. Very, very old. Maybe 50,000 years. Maybe older." The 2 scientists looked at each other. 50,000 years ago, humans were still living in caves. They did not have cities. They did not have writing. They did not have anything. But something had built this energy source. Something had put it in space. Something had left it here to keep working for 50,000 years. "We need to tell someone," Teo said quietly. By the end of the day, every important person in the world knew about the discovery. The United Nations called a meeting. Religious leaders called for calm. Scientists called for more information. Governments called for the military. Everyone called for something different, and nobody agreed on anything. The decision was made quickly. A team would go to the source. They would find out what it was. They would report back. This seemed like a good plan when people were sitting in comfortable rooms drinking hot coffee. It seemed less good when they started thinking about what they might actually find. Hansol did not want to go. She said this many times. She said it to her boss. She said it to her friends. She said it to the old cat that lived in her apartment. The cat did not care. Her boss did care. He told her that she had to go. She was the only one who understood the data. She was the only one who could lead the mission. "I am just a scientist," she said. "I study things from far away. I do not go to things. Things come to me, in data, in numbers." Her boss smiled. "Not this time," he said. Commander Giwan came to meet her in the mission planning room. He was a tall man with gray in his hair and the kind of face that had seen many things. He told her that she would not be going alone. She would have a team. Dr. Haywan was a biologist, very smart, very careful with plants and animals and anything that was alive. Minsu was an engineer, the best engineer they had. He could fix anything, anything at all. Daejung and Curie were soldiers, trained for danger, trained to think fast and move faster. "These are good people," Giwan told her. "You will be safe with them." Han Sol was not sure she believed him, but she did not have a choice anyway. The ship that carried them was called the Hope. It was a good name for a ship going into the unknown. The ship moved through space, and the crew moved through the ship, and the days became weeks. The weeks became long and strange. They played card games. They looked out the windows at stars that never changed. They did not talk very much about what they might find, because talking about it made everyone nervous. Han Sol spent her time reading the old myths. She did not believe in myths. Myths were stories that people made up when they did not understand how the world worked. But the probe had found something that matched old stories. From China, from Egypt, from India, from Africa, from everywhere, stories about gods from the sky, stories about beings of light and power, stories that should not match each other but did. "These are all the same story," she told Teo over the communication system. He was still on Earth, still drinking coffee, still reading her reports. Different people in different times, all telling the same story. Why? "Maybe they all saw the same thing," Teo said. "Maybe your energy source is not from 50,000 years ago. Maybe it is older. Maybe it made itself seem old." Han Sol did not like this answer. When they got close to the nebula, the ship's computers started making strange sounds. The screen showed strange numbers. The signals were getting confused. The instruments were trying to work, but something was interfering with them. Something was strong, something was very close, something was making the reality around them feel bent and wrong. Then they saw it. The structure appeared on the screens first. The computers tried to show what it was, but the image kept changing. It was huge. It was so huge that it was hard to understand how huge it was. It was made of metal that was not like any metal they had ever seen. It was old, very old, ancient and cracked and covered with the marks of time. But it was still working. It was still making energy. It was still alive. "We found it," Han Sol said quietly. "What do we do now?" Curie asked. Han Sol did not know. Nobody knew. They were flying towards something that should not exist, something that was impossible, something that was going to change everything they thought they knew about the world and about humans and about what was possible. She looked at the commander on the screen. "We land," Han Sol said. "We go down. We find out what this thing is." The ship moved forward into the dust clouds of the nebula, and the energy signature grew stronger, and the impossible came closer and closer. The landing was not smooth. The ship fought against the air and the dust and the strange energy that filled the nebula like an invisible ocean. Han Sol held onto her seat and tried not to think about falling. Daejung and Curie were strapped in behind her, their faces calm and ready. They had trained for many landings. This one was just different because nobody knew what was at the bottom. The ship touched down on a platform that they had not even known was there. The sensors had found it only when they got very close. It was made of the same strange metal as the huge structure. The metal was smooth and it was cold and it did not look like anything that humans had made. Han Sol put on her suit. Everyone put on their suits. The suits had air inside them, and they had lights, and they had many small computers that would keep them alive in strange places. They looked like white ghosts in their suits. Heywan checked everyone's equipment twice. She was careful. She always was careful. They walked out of the ship into a place that was not like anywhere on Earth. The structure was so big that they could not see the top of it even when they looked up and up and up. It was made of metal that had colors they did not have names for. The metal was smooth in some places and covered with marks in other places. There were lines that ran along the walls, and the lines had light inside them. Blue light, green light, light that pulsed like a heartbeat. "Is it dangerous?" Curie asked. Her hand was on her weapon. She was ready for danger. "I do not know," Han Sol said. She was not ready for anything. She was a scientist. Scientists studied things. They did not fight things. Minsu walked to a wall and touched it gently. "It is not hot," he said. "It is not cold. It is normal, like a wall should be. It is just a wall." They found a door, not a door like doors on Earth, a door that was part of the wall, that opened when they walked close to it, that knew they were coming before they got there. The door opened, and inside was a room that was very old and very new at the same time, a room that had things in it that looked like computers but were not computers, things that looked like machines but were not machines, things that had no name. HFY found the first body. She was looking at some containers on a wall when she saw them, not moving, not alive, but not like Earth dead, like something else, something that had been dead for a very long time. The body was long and thin and had too many fingers. The skin was silver. The eyes were empty and dark, like looking into space. "Do not touch it," Hansol said. "Do not touch anything." But it was already too late. Minsu had found more bodies, 3 more, maybe 5. It was hard to tell. They were all in the same state. Old, very old. Dead for a time so long that it was hard to imagine it. 50,000 years. More? The bodies had started to break down into something else. They were becoming part of the building. "These things built this place," Teo said through the communication system. He was still on Earth, but he was looking at the video that the suits were sending back. "These things made this structure." "What are they?" Daejung asked. "I do not know," Teo said. "I have never seen anything like them." They went deeper into the structure. The rooms got bigger. The machines got stranger. They found rooms that had pictures on the walls, not pictures like paintings, pictures like memories, like someone had recorded what they were seeing and put it into the walls. The pictures showed star maps. The pictures showed planets. The pictures showed Earth. Earth from the sky. Earth with no cities. Earth from 50,000 years ago or maybe much longer ago, and in the pictures they saw humans. Not all of them were human, some were different, but some were human. They were standing next to the silver beings. They were being studied. They were being measured. They were being tested. Hansol felt something move inside her, something like fear, something like anger, something like every question she had ever had about where humans came from, all mixing together inside her chest and making her want to scream and cry and laugh all at once. "They came here," HFY said. Her voice was shaking. "They came to Earth. They studied us. They studied our ancestors. They were scientists," Minsu said. "Like us. They were doing what scientists do. They were learning. They were using us," Curie said. "They were treating us like animals. We are learning from them now," Tayo said from Earth. "We are treating what we find like animals. We are cutting them open to understand. We are learning from them. This is what science is." Hansol did not say anything. She was looking at a picture of a human woman on the wall. The woman was standing next to one of the silver beings. The woman was smiling. The woman looked happy. Or maybe the woman was terrified and trying to show she was not terrified. It was hard to tell after so long. It was hard to tell from a picture in the wall of an alien building from 50,000 years ago. They found the center of the building, the room at the heart of everything. The room had a machine in it that was still working. The machine was making the energy that the probe had found, the energy that had brought them across the stars. But it was not making energy like a power plant made energy. It was making energy like a person made a sound when they called for help. It was a signal, a message, a cry from the darkness, looking for an answer that had not come for 50,000 years. "This is a distress beacon," Hansol said. "This whole building is a distress beacon. They are still trying to call for help." "Who is calling?" HFY asked. "They are," Teo said. "The ones that built this. The ones that studied us." They are calling and nobody has answered them for 50,000 years. Han Sol went to the machine. It was covered with symbols. The symbols were not in any language she knew, but she could understand some of them. Maybe because they were very old. Maybe because they were made for anyone to understand. Maybe because some things were the same everywhere, in every time, in every place. The symbols meant, "We are lost. We are alone. Please help us." That was all. Just that. 50,000 years of calling out into the darkness, and no one had ever come. Han Sol reached down and touched the machine. It was warm. It was like touching something alive, like touching a heart that was still beating. She felt tears in her eyes inside her helmet. She did not know why she was crying. Maybe because she understood how alone something could be. Maybe because she understood that these beings, these creatures from the stars, they were not gods. They were not angels. They were just like anyone else. They got lost. They got scared. They died alone in the dark. "We have to tell Earth," Han Sol said. "Everything. All of it. They need to know what we found." But even as she said it, she knew it would change everything. The world would never be the same after this day. All the old stories, all the old myths, all the old religions, they would all have to change, because now they would know the truth. And the truth was much stranger and much sadder than any story anyone had ever told. The discovery spread across Earth like fire spreading through dry grass. By the time Han Sol finished her first complete report, the world was already breaking into pieces. Some people were crying, some people were angry, some people were praying. Some people were not doing anything because they did not know what to do anymore. Han Sol did not have time to watch the world break. She was too busy trying to understand what she had found. She spent every hour inside the alien structure, walking through rooms and reading the symbols on the walls and trying to understand what these beings had been, who they were, where they came from, why they had studied humans. The structure was like a library and a laboratory and a home, all mixed together. In one room, she found records. Not paper records like humans made. These records were made of something that looked like glass, but was not glass. They held memories. When Han Sol put her hand on them, she could see pictures in her mind. Pictures of the silver beings. Pictures of them moving between stars. Pictures of them visiting many worlds. They called themselves the architects. That was what Teo said when he learned to read their symbols. They were not gods. They were explorers. They were scientists. They were travelers. They had visited hundreds of planets. They had studied hundreds of civilizations. Some of the civilizations they found were very young, like Earth. Some were very old. Some were dead. The architects had a rule, a very important rule. They did not interfere. They did not help. They did not hurt. They only observed. They only learned. They watched civilizations grow and change and sometimes die, and they wrote down everything they saw in their records. They were like watchers in the sky. They were like invisible teachers that nobody knew were there. But they studied humans, HFY said. She was angry. She was still angry from the first day. "That is interfering. That is using us like animals." "They studied everything," Minsu said. He was looking at pictures of alien plants from alien worlds. They were trying to understand life, all life, every kind of life that existed. We do the same thing. We study animals. We study plants. We study everything. They were just doing science. "We do not travel across the stars to study animals," HFY said. "That is different. That is wrong." Han Sol was not sure. The architects seemed to have been very careful. They did not take humans from Earth. They only watched them. They only made notes. They did not share their technology. They did not try to help. They just looked and learned and then left. Was that wrong? Han Sol did not know anymore. Everything seemed complicated now. The news from Earth got stranger and stranger. Some religions were saying that the architects were demons. Some were saying they were gods. Some were saying they were proof that gods did not exist. Scientists were arguing about evolution and how humans started. Governments were arguing about who should study the building. Some said it belonged to everyone. Some said it belonged to their country. Some wanted to take it apart and see how it worked. Some wanted to leave it alone. There was a big meeting on Earth. Important people came together. They talked for days and days. They could not decide anything. So they made a decision that made everyone angry. They would study the building, but carefully. They would learn as much as they could, but slowly. They would send more people and more equipment. The building would become a place where scientists came to learn, like a university, but in space, and with alien technology. Han Sol was asked to stay, to keep working, to help them understand what they had found. "I do not want to stay," she said to Giwan over the communication system. Giwan was back on Earth now. He had left the team to study the building and gone back to run the project from the ground. "I want to go home. I want to drink good coffee. I want to sleep in a bed. I want to forget all of this." "You cannot forget it," Giwan said. His voice was gentle but firm. "Nobody can forget this. This is the biggest thing that has ever happened to humans. And you are the only one who understands it the most. You have to help. You have to tell everyone what it means." "What does it mean?" Han Sol asked. "I do not know what it means. I thought I knew. I thought that maybe we learned where we came from. I thought that maybe we could understand why we are here. But now I just have more questions. Are we special? Are we just one of hundreds of civilizations that this building has studied? Are we important? Are we just data to them?" Giwan did not answer right away. When he did, his voice was different, quieter. "I think," he said slowly, "that the answer does not matter. Not really. You are special because you are alive. You are important because you think and feel and try to understand. The architects were not gods. They were just beings that knew more than we did. That is all. And maybe one day we will know as much as they did. And we will still be human. We will still be ourselves." Han Sol thought about this. She thought about it while she walked through the building. She thought about it while she read the records. She thought about it while she looked at the pictures of humans from 50,000 years ago being studied by beings from the stars. Teo sent her a message. "I have been looking at the oldest records we have from the architects," he wrote. "The really old ones, from when they first started exploring. You know what I noticed? They were scared. They were scared of what they would find. They were scared of making mistakes. They were scared of hurting civilizations just by being there. They were like us, Han Sol, just older, just more experienced, but still scared, still trying to figure out what the right thing to do was." Han Sol read this message while she sat alone in the building in a room made of metal that had colors with no names, and she started to cry again. The building was not a museum of a superior civilization. It was a museum of beings that had been lost and alone, trying to do the best they could in a big and confusing universe. The building was not a message from gods. It was a message from explorers, from travelers, from scientists, from people. Close enough to gods, maybe, but people, really. Han Sol went to the center room where the machine was still making its signal. She put her hand on it again. It was still warm, still beating like a heart, still calling out into the darkness after 50,000 years. "I will help you," Han Sol said, speaking to the dead beings that had built this place. "We will understand you. We will make sure the whole universe knows about you. You will not be forgotten." The machine pulsed. Maybe it heard her. Maybe it did not. But either way, Han Sol felt a little less alone in that moment. She felt less alone knowing that there were others in the universe who had been alone too. Others who had tried to understand. Others who had called out into the darkness and waited for an answer. Maybe, Han Sol thought, That was what made things alive. Not power, not intelligence, not being gods, but reaching out, trying to connect, refusing to be forgotten. The machine in the center of the building was not just a signal. It was also a computer, a very old computer, a computer that had been waiting for someone smart enough to read what it had to say. After 2 weeks of trying, Min Su and Teo figured out how to make it talk. When they did, everyone on Earth and everyone in the building and everyone on the ship stopped what they were doing to listen. The message started simple. It said, "If you have found us, we hope you have found peace with your own kind." And then it kept going. It kept going for hours and hours. The architects had left a message, not a short message. A message that was like a book, like many books, like everything they had ever thought and felt and learned, all recorded into this machine, waiting for someone to find it and listen. Han Sol listened for 16 hours without stopping. She listened while Heywan slept. She listened while Minsu made coffee that tasted like dirt but had caffeine in it, and that was enough. She listened while Kyuri and Daijung tried to stay awake but kept falling asleep in their chairs. She listened while Teo translated every word from the language of the architects into the language of humans. The architects had visited hundreds of worlds, maybe thousands. They had found civilizations that were very smart, and civilizations that were very dumb, and civilizations that were in between. They had watched them build cities. They had watched them make art. They had watched them go to war and make peace and go to war again. They had watched them die out slowly or suddenly, or from sickness, or from their own hands. For a very long time, the architects had helped. They had shared technology. They had taught the young civilizations how to do better. They had tried to make life easier. But then something happened. Something that changed their mind about helping. The architects had helped a civilization on a world called Kepler-7. They had given them technology. They had taught them science. They had shown them how to build things and make things and create things. The civilization got very advanced very fast. They built cities that went up to the sky. They built machines that could do anything. They built weapons that could destroy their whole world. And then they used those weapons. The architects watched while the Kepler-7 civilization destroyed itself. Millions of them died. The world became poison and fire and death. The architects tried to help stop it, but they could not. They tried to fix what had happened, but they could not fix it. The civilization was gone, all of them. All the buildings, all the art, all the knowledge, all the hopes, all gone. After that, the architects changed. They stopped helping. They made a new rule. They would only observe. They would only watch. They would not share technology. They would not teach. They would not help, no matter what happened. We realized, the message said, that a civilization given gifts before it was ready to have them would not grow. It would break, like a child given a sharp knife before it learned how to hold it. The civilization would hurt itself. It would hurt others. It would never become what it could be if it had learned on its own. The architects had made this choice because they loved the young civilizations, because they wanted them to live and grow and become strong, because they believed that a civilization that earned its own knowledge was better than a civilization that was given knowledge. A civilization that learned to solve its own problems was stronger than a civilization that had problems solved for it. This is not cruelty, the message said. This is love. This is hope. This is the belief that you are strong enough to survive without us, that you are wise enough to make good choices, that you will become something beautiful because you had to work to become it, not because we made you beautiful. The architects had followed this rule for a long time, thousands of years. They had watched hundreds of civilizations. Some died, some thrived. Some stayed the same for millions of years and then changed overnight. All of them were beautiful in their own way. All of them were worth watching. All of them were worth saving by leaving them alone to save themselves. But then something else happened. Something worse than Kepler-7. Something that the architects could not ignore. A cloud had started spreading through space. not a cloud of gas, a cloud of destruction. It came from somewhere beyond the edge of known space. It came slowly, but it never stopped. It came and everything in its way died, not just civilizations, whole planets, whole stars, whole systems. The cloud had destroyed 1,000 worlds, maybe more. The architects had tried to fight it. They had tried to stop it. They had failed. "We are leaving," the message said. "We are going to face this thing that comes. We do not know if we will survive. We think we will not survive, but we must try. It is our responsibility. We brought knowledge to this universe. We watched over the young civilizations. We must protect them now." The message stopped for a moment. Then it started again, and the architects sounded sad. "We will not come back. We cannot come back, but we have left something behind. We have left records on this station and on other stations across the galaxy. Records of knowledge, records of science, records of how to do things. Not because we want you to follow in our footsteps, not because we want you to become like us, but because the thing that comes, it might come to you too. And if it does, you might need to know what we know. You might need to be as strong as we are. You might need to survive." Hansol felt her heart beating very fast. "What is this thing?" she asked Teo. "What comes? What does it do?" "Keep listening," Teo said. His voice was very quiet. The architects described it. Not clearly because they did not understand it clearly either, but they tried. They said it was like a wall of nothing, like reality breaking apart, like the universe being eaten by something that was not the universe. They said it moved through space and everything it touched just stopped existing, not died, just stopped. They said it came slowly, but it never stopped and it never turned around. It just kept coming and coming. They said it had destroyed their home world. That was why they had left the station. That was why they had called for help that nobody answered. They had left when the thing was still far away, and they had gone to fight it, and they had never come back. The message ended with coordinates. Places where other stations like this one existed. Places where other records were hidden. The architects were giving the young civilizations gifts, not gifts of technology, but gifts of knowledge, gifts of survival, gifts of hope. "Find the other stations," the last message said. "Learn what we learned. Become as strong as you can become. And if the thing that comes gets close to you, fight. Do not give up. Do not let everything end. The universe is worth saving. Beings like you are worth saving. You are beautiful and strange and wonderful, and you are worth saving." And then the message ended. And there was only silence. Only the sound of the machine still beating like a heart, still making its signal, still hoping for an answer that would never come. Hansol sat in the darkness of the alien building and thought about a civilization that had already died. She thought about their choice to stop helping others. She thought about their hope that the young civilizations would be strong enough to live without them. She thought about how they had sacrificed themselves to fight something that no one could fight. She thought about what Giwan had told her, that humans were special just because they were alive, because they thought and felt and tried to understand. Maybe, Hansol thought, the architects had understood that too. And maybe that was why they had believed humans were worth saving. When Hansol finished listening to the message, she sat in the darkness of the alien building for a very long time without moving. She did not sleep. She did not eat. She did not talk to anyone. She just sat and thought about what she had learned and what it meant and what she was supposed to do with this knowledge. Haiwan came to find her after 12 hours. She sat down next to Hansol on the cold metal floor and did not say anything. She just sat. After a while, Hansol spoke. "If I tell them everything," Hansol said, "what happens?" "They will know the truth," Haiwan said. "The truth is that the universe is not safe," Hansol said. "The truth is that something is coming to destroy us. The truth is that the beings we thought might be gods were just beings who were afraid and alone, just like us. The truth is that there is no one coming to save us. We have to save ourselves." "Yes," Haywan said. "That is the truth." "People do not want the truth," Han Sol said. "People want stories. People want to believe that someone is taking care of them, that someone is watching, that someone who is stronger and smarter will help them when things get bad. The architects understood this. That is why they left, because they knew that if they stayed, people would never believe in themselves. People would always be looking at the sky waiting for help instead of looking at their own hands and figuring out what they could do." "So what are you saying?" Haywan asked. "I am saying that if I tell them the whole truth, something will break," Han Sol said. "Maybe it will be religions, maybe it will be governments, maybe it will be the way people think about themselves. But something will break, and I do not know if it can be fixed." Daejung came and sat down too. Then Kyuri. Then Minsu came from the communication room where he had been sending data to Earth. They all sat together on the cold metal floor of the alien building, and they all felt the weight of what they knew. "I think we should tell them," Daejung said. He was a soldier. Soldiers dealt with hard truths. "A truth that breaks things is better than a lie that breaks things slowly." "But what if the truth is too big?" Kyuri said. "What if people panic? What if governments fight over the technology? What if religions start wars?" "They might," Minsu said quietly. "They probably will, but people will do that anyway. Sooner or later, someone will figure out what is here, and then people will panic and fight and argue. It is better if they do it now, when we can help guide it, than later when it is chaos." Teo sent a message from Earth. "I have been thinking about this," he wrote. "I think we are asking the wrong question. We should not ask if we should tell them the truth. We should ask, what version of the truth will make humans stronger? What version of the truth will help them become the kind of species that can survive what is coming?" Han Sol read this, and she thought about what the architects had said. About how civilizations that earned knowledge were stronger than civilizations that were given knowledge. That night, she called a meeting with all the scientists on Earth, the important people, the government leaders, the religious leaders, the historians, everyone who would help decide what to do. She told them about the building. She told them that it was made by an ancient civilization that had visited Earth. She told them that this civilization was explorers and scientists who observed other worlds. She told them that this civilization had left technology and knowledge that could help humans. She told them that there was a danger coming, something that threatened the universe, and that humans needed to be prepared. She did not tell them everything. She did not tell them that the architects were dead. She did not tell them about Kepler-7. She did not tell them that the thing coming had already destroyed 1,000 worlds. She did not tell them that the architects had gone to fight it and probably died. She did not tell them how old the building was or how long the signal had been calling with no answer. She told them part of the truth, a version of the truth that was true but not complete, a version that would push humans forward without breaking them. "This is the beginning of a new era for humanity," she said. "We have found that we are not alone in the universe. We have found knowledge left by an advanced civilization. We have found proof that life is not just on Earth. And now we have a responsibility. We have to become strong. We have to learn. We have to become a species worthy of joining the universe as equals, not as children." Giwan listened to her report. When she was done, he asked a simple question. "Are you hiding something, Dr. Han Sol?" She did not look away. She looked him right in the eyes. "Yes," she said. "I am hiding something. I am hiding the complete truth because I think the complete truth would break people. But I am not hiding it from you forever. I am hiding it so that humanity can grow enough to handle it, so that in 50 years or 100 years, people will be ready to know everything, but right now, they need to know enough to move forward. They need to believe in themselves." They need to understand that we can be strong without being saved by anyone else. Giwan was quiet for a long time. Then he nodded. Close enough, he said. And with those two words, the decision was made. Humanity would be told part of the truth. Humanity would be told enough to push them forward. Humanity would be told the version of the truth that would make them stronger. Back at the building, Hansol looked at the records of the architects, at their pictures, at their symbols and their knowledge. And she made a promise to the dead civilization that had left everything behind. "We will not become like you," she said. "We will not stop exploring. We will not stop helping when we can. We will not make the choice to leave the young civilizations alone. But we will learn from you. We will become strong like you wanted us to be. We will survive the thing that comes, and we will make sure that your sacrifice meant something. We will make sure that your story is not forgotten." The building hummed around her, and the machine in the center of the building kept beating like a heart, and somewhere in the distance, across the cosmos, the thing that came kept coming, and kept coming, and kept coming. But now humanity knew. Now humans could begin to prepare. Now humans could begin to understand what they needed to become. It was not everything, but it was close enough.